right now. We're trying to get people to turn left to not go down 14th Street. There's a random search right now. They've pulled over about 6 cars. We've seen 2 people get detained, one by ICE, one by the police, taken no rhyme or reason. So we're trying to get people to turn left so that nobody drives down this street and doesn't have to be wrongfully apprehended.
Yes, one by ICE, one by the police. They use the words, but they don't know what they mean. That's right, 14th Street in Washington, D.C., where I will be going in a couple of hours, few hours. And it's true, federal law enforcement, immigration customs enforcement, and the ERO, enforcement and removal operations, that's illegal aliens. A lot of gang members and wanted criminals. The Democrats are out on the streets of Washington, D.C., trying to screw over law enforcement, federal and a Metropolitan Police Department on 14th Street last night. Homeland Security Investigations, HSI. That's another abbreviation we have to be familiar with. And ERO, Enforcement and Removal Operations, because BLM, Black Lives Matter, and what's the name, the Venezuelan gang? Oh, Tren de Aragua. TDA. We actually call that TDA now because we have to abbreviate everything. It's quite amazing. And the Democrats were out on the street last night trying to help criminals and illegal aliens, and most of them maybe wanted for something else, who are on 14th Street. So they're out there, and you heard the woman yelling, "Turn left here, turn left here. You know, I go there, the police are arresting criminals there, and we're out here trying to help criminals." And they're yelling at the police, the Democrats are, and cursing at the police and calling them names and threatening them. And then they're like, "Why are you wearing masks?" And I love how the idiot Democrats, including the idiot elected Democrats on Capitol Hill, members of Congress, are saying, "Oh, they've got these plainclothes cops with no identifiers, with masks. It's like a third world country." You are the filthy, stinking third world country, lefty maroon. But these police, they've got body armor on with the big word police on it, and they've got ERO for, the removal operations on it, but pay no attention to that. And they have their gun belts on, and they're wearing tactical gear. And in this photograph I'm looking at, there are 6 or 7 police officers, local and federal. 3 of them are wearing the pull-up face mask that you wear when it's cold outside. And they're doing it because they know the left is out here, and they try to dox them and their families and threaten their families and threaten them. And, of course, if they're arresting members of Tren de Aragua or MS-13, then the gangs threaten to murder everybody in your family. And the Democrats are trying to help Tren de Aragua and MS-13 and Al-Qaeda and Hamas, because the left is very severely mentally ill, and they're violently, criminally insane. Now, a little bit more from the streets of Washington, D.C. last night, with Democrats trying to help criminals. This, and if you've ever wondered, it's like Braveheart or, the gates of Vienna with these moron, violent, criminal animals out on the street. They call themselves Democrats. They call themselves liberals. But honestly, it's like the Ottoman invasion of Washington, D.C., and the police are the Holy Roman Empire. It's honestly the gates of Vienna. These people they're very, very unwell. It's 1683 in downtown Washington, D.C., because the Democrat Party is severely mentally ill.
Why are you here? You're trying to arrest innocent people? What's your purpose? What's your goal? What's the motive? Why won't you show your face?
Yeah. You're not very bright, are you? Not a very intelligent person, not a serious person, not an adult person. You people, but they're out there helping, because the Democrats are pro-crime. The Democrat Party is pro-criminal. The Democrat Party wants more people killed, murdered in Washington, D.C. this year without fighting against it than were killed in the last 5 years of the war in Iraq. And the war in Afghanistan. That's where I crunched the numbers. and they're pro-murder. The Democrat Party is pro-murder. They're pro-crime. They're pro-violence. Yes, sir. Chuck Schumer is a pathological liar. He's a Democrat lizard king senator from the state of New York, where they have their share of murders and crime and gangs and illegal aliens, and they applaud this. And so send us more of that, more death, more killing. Chuck Schumer naturally doing a podcast with an idiot leftist named Aaron Parnas. And, hey, what about the crime in Washington, D.C., Chuck Schumer?
Senator, are you scared walking around Washington, D.C. these days?
I walk around all the time. I wake up early in the morning sometimes and take a nice walk as the sun is rising around some of the Capitol and the other monuments things. And I feel perfectly safe. They're full of it. Look, here's what they've done, Aaron. Plain and simple.
Plain and simple.
Donald Trump wants to distract.
Distract? Really? From the Epstein files, you moron? These people are such morons. Chuck Schumer is the Democrat leader in the United States Senate. He is therefore provided with a limousine, possibly armored limousine, and a U.S. Capitol Police protective detail. Idiots on television keep saying, see, he's got Secret Service protection. He has U.S. Capitol protective detail, just as, thankfully, on that baseball field in Alexandria, Virginia, there was one, Steve Scalise, member of the Republican leadership that had a U.S. Capitol Police protective detail with him. And therefore, James Hodgkinson, the Bernie Sanders campaign volunteer that shot and nearly killed Congressman Steve Scalise, was gunned down by the police there on his suicide mission to murder the Democrat Party, Bernie Sanders, commie socialist suicide mission by James Hodgkinson to murder a baseball field full of Republican members of Congress, the House and the Senate. And there was one protective detail there, and that's all. Because there was one Republican leader, Steve Scalise. And otherwise, that would have been a very mass political assassination because Democrats and the rage. By the way, it was Chuck Schumer who, with his protective detail, threatened members of the Supreme Court and said, you will reap the whirlwind, you will pay the price. And then the would-be assassin that came in from across the country showed up outside the home of Brett Kavanaugh with plans on murdering 3 Supreme Court justices, incited by Chuck Schumer. And Chuck Schumer lies, scoffs, arrogantly, smugly, with furrowed brow. Oh, he walks my rumpus. He doesn't get up, before the sun and strolling on Capitol Hill. Nobody does without a gun. And you're an idiot and a liar and a fraud and a charlatan. There's a Democrat member of the House of Representatives named Henry Cuellar. And he's a Democrat from Texas, and in 2023, about 2 years ago, he was carjacked by a couple of Democrat, I think he calls them Utes. Utes, what's a Ute? And Henry Cuellar, Democrat member of the House of Representatives from Texas, on his being carjacked. This was in 2023.
I was just coming into my place. 3 guys came out of nowhere, and they pointed guns at me. They said they wanted my car. I said, sure, you got to keep calm under those situations. And then they took off. They recovered the car. They had masks, but you could still see that they were young. They had young folks.
Young folks, they had young folks. And that's because they were young folks that somehow makes a difference. And I think he gave a little bit of advice there, that you just have to be calm. You just have to be calm. And get used to being robbed. Just learn how to be robbed. Isn't that wonderful? The Democrats, and who was the Democrat member of Congress who was attacked? I think it was Congresswoman Angie Craig, was it? She was in her apartment building in Washington, D.C., not far from Capitol Hill, I think close to the baseball stadium. In barely southeast D.C., down South Capitol Street. And she was attacked in her apartment building. And all this is fine. This is no problem. The Democrats tell us we should learn how to be carjacked because their sons are going to keep getting illegal guns and carjacking you. And the Democrat Party is in favor of carjacking. Now, there is a Senator, Mark Wayne Mullen, who is a Republican from Oklahoma who bench presses 400 pounds. And Mark Wayne Mullen was asked about crime in Washington, D.C., and what did Mark Wayne Mullen say?
If you look at car theft only, if Washington, D.C. was a state, Washington, D.C. would be 3 times higher than any other state. And we're talking about a city. We're comparing it to full states. And by the way, I'm not joking when I say this. I drive around in Washington, D.C. in my Jeep, and yes, I do drive myself, and I don't buckle up. And the reason why I don't buckle up, and people can say whatever they want to, they can raise their eyebrows at me again, is because of carjacking. I don't want to be stuck in my vehicle when I need to exit in a hurry because I got a seatbelt around me. And I wear my seatbelt all the time, but in Washington, D.C., I do not because it is so prevalent of carjacking.
Again, 68 square miles. We had 950 carjackings. Was it last year or the year before? I think last year, 950. Yeah, not last year. Like 950-something carjackings in 68 square miles. How many carjackings is that per square mile? The Democrat Party says, get used to it because we don't care. And they don't. Mark Wayne Mullen, good guy. I've met him, had him on the TV show on Newsmax. Real regular guy, down to earth, normal person. Imagine that. And a brave, normal American. And he wants to be able to protect himself. In D.C., they do everything they can to make sure that you cannot protect yourself. And the higher crime gets, the more they don't want you to protect yourself. You know, concealed carry and all that stuff. This ridiculous child named Hope Walls is the daughter of Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who the Democrats wanted to be vice president after he lied about serving in Iraq. And his wife loves the smell of the city of Minneapolis burning when rioters are sacking the place because a career criminal died of a cardiac event while resisting arrest. So the Democrats burned the country to the ground. And they shoot members of Congress, and they shot Donald Trump, and they shot Ronald Reagan, and they the 3 other Republican presidents in the past. Here is Hope Walz, the daughter of the Democrat governor of the once proud state of Minnesota, no more. And again, you had these idiots out on the street on 14th Street in Washington last night. You're arresting people for no reason. Well, that would be wrong. I think that would be wrong. And it's not happening, or I'd feel bad about that. Hope Walz, daughter of the Democrat governor.
Trump's baby wussy scaredy cat behavior in D.C. And it's always been like one form of another of like the U.S. locking up people that aren't like rich and white and men.
Yeah, America is a terrible country. If you're not rich and white and men, then you're not being locked up. Isn't that right? That's their thing. Just amazing. These are dangerously stupid people. Tom Homan, Tom Homan. These are our borders, our illegal aliens are. And talking about crime in D.C.
I think D.C. under federal control is not going to be a sanctuary city. We're working with the police hand in hand. When we encounter a criminal illegal alien, they'll be turned over to ICE. And that's the way it should be. There's no sanctuary for these people in the city of D.C.
They have sanctuary cities, and D.C. is one of them because liberals, so-called liberals, leftists, commies, morons, run the city. The city needs to be taken away by the federal government. We need to return the federal district to being a federal district. Home rule must go. They are an embarrassment to the United States. The Democrats running the city are an embarrassment to the country, to the city. They make it dangerous. There are mentally ill people wandering everywhere, smashing windows, stealing things, attacking people, eventually being arrested and thrown in jail. That's the Democrat plan for the homeless. President Trump uprooting 70 homeless encampments, giving them a choice of shelter or treatment. But you're no longer allowed to be the wretched refuse on the streets of our nation's capital. You know that the all-new third-generation Eden Pure Thunderstorm air purifier is finally here. And the third generation builds on the first 2 generations, the incredible success that they demonstrated. With thousands of 5-star reviews on Al Gore's amazing internet, a bestseller everywhere. They're great devices. You can hold one in your hand. It's not a big piece of furniture, and you don't have to buy filters to replace over and over again. The new Thunderstorm uses 2 technologies that studies have demonstrated help to kill up to 99.9% of bacteria and viruses floating in the air in your home, in your office. Also removes dust and pet dander and smoke and all kinds of things you don't want to breathe in the air with no filters. That's a big plus. The thunderstorm will help get rid of any stinky odor guaranteed. Talking about trash can, cigarette smoke, liberal protesters, musty basements. No match for the Eden Pure Thunderstorm air purifier. And right now, you can save $200 American when you get an Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack for a whole home protection. Put one on every floor. Put one in the teenager's room. Put one in the kitchen. Any place you like to breathe clean, fresh air. Use one as a gift. Bring one to the office. All you have to do is go to EdenPureDeals.com and use the discount code CHRIS3, CHRIS and the number 3 to save $200 on 3 thunderstorms. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is CHRIS3. Yes, sir. The Democrat Party. For how long have I been saying they're not on our side? They continue to demonstrate the truth behind that statement.
Is it possible the 2 Utes?
The 2 what? Did you say Utes?
Yeah, 2 Utes.
What is a Ute?
Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at WashingtonTimes.com/Chris. Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, this morning on the television on Fox News, talked about, an update of the arrests and crime fighting in Washington, D.C. last night.
I have some updated statistics for you. Overnight, there were 45 criminal arrests made for assault, second and first degree. There were arrests made for the distribution of illegal drugs and narcotics that have now been removed off of the streets. There were 3 illegal firearms that were seized. And in addition to that, there were 29 illegal aliens who were removed off of Washington, D.C. streets last night, many of whom had final orders of removal.
The Democrats were out on the sidewalk with big signs that say ICE, warning illegal aliens who might worry about an ICE arrest to stay away from law enforcement. They're engaged in a criminal conspiracy to thwart the enforcement of law.
If the Democrats had their way, there would be hundreds more criminals roaming free in the streets of the District of Columbia right now.
The Democrats want more crime. Chuck Schumer wants more crime. Chuck Schumer lies about walking before dawn. Oh, I'm out here by myself because it's so crime-free. The guy is a psycho, pathological liar, which makes him a perfectly ordinary and normal Democrat, member of the Senate, the House, the Democrats. More coming up. Democrats love murder. In Maryland, they have a governor. They have a governor there. His name is Wes Moore. It should be Les Moore, shouldn't it? Wes Moore. And the Democrats love him. They're planning on running him for president. He's a POC. You know, he's a person of color. He seems to be an intelligent person until he starts in with the Democrat Party talking points. Wes Moore said he's being asked, oh, no, Donald Trump has got the National Guard on the streets of Washington, D.C. Isn't it scary? Isn't it terrible? Wes Moore.
I am very clear that I will work with anyone, but I will bow down to no one. And I understand where my constitutional authority begins, and I understand where my constitutional authority allows me to do. And as the commander-in-chief of the Maryland National Guard, I have the sole responsibility and the sole honor of being able to determine how, when, and why the Maryland National Guard is utilized.
But nobody asked you to call out the National Guard, did they? But now they're, oh no, I'm brave. I won't do it. I won't do it. Well, you know, I just looked at the homicides in Baltimore, and liberals say, oh, it's really good in Baltimore. The numbers are down. Yeah, to how many now? Dozens and dozens so far this year, murders, Baltimore. And what are you doing about it? And nobody in the news media actually asked them about it. Now, where this police checkpoint was on 14th Street last night that had Democrats out there yelling curse words at the police and holding up signs that say ICE and yelling at cars to turn left if you're an illegal alien gang member with, child sex trafficking going on in the back of your vehicle. The Democrats want to be helpful to the child sex traffickers and the gang members. And on 14th Street there, this is the neighborhood where the guy from the Doge, they call him Big Balls, but his name is Edward Korestein, and he was trying to stop a carjacking, a woman being carjacked by a gang of 12 Democrat youths. And Edward Korestein was attacked by the mob and beaten to a bloody pulp and left on the sidewalk. That was very close to where this checkpoint is, and the checkpoint is that neighborhood. It's, theoretically, there are $1 million houses and $1 million condos, and there are stores and restaurants. There's a restaurant that Joe Biden went to a couple of times in that neighborhood called La Diplomate. They have a good cheeseburger, pretty good cheeseburger there. But that neighborhood, May 27th of 2025, police ID man killed in shooting near 14th and R Street in D.C. That's right in that neighborhood there. Gunman opens fire outside of restaurant. And what did he shoot? 3 people there. And the Democrats say, no, we like people being shot in our neighborhood. We want more people shot in our neighborhood. Diners flee upmarket restaurant as 2 people shot in downtown Washington, D.C. You could see them hitting the ground. They were semi-automatics. It sounded like a war zone for a hot second, like Afghanistan, said a witness to the thing. Diners fled from the upmarket restaurant. 2 people were shot downtown Washington. And the Democrat Party, they've got young women out there wearing short shorts and carrying signs saying ICE ahead, because I guess it's their dream to be murdered or something. Police ID man killed in shooting. It's just amazing that they've got rank and file Democrat voters out in the street fighting for crime in their own neighborhoods, presumably. Isn't that amazing? And let's go to the idiot Democrat mayors, because the media, they've racialized it because they're racist Democrats. And they go to all the, you got a black mayor in Washington, D.C., you got a black mayor in Baltimore, you got a black mayor in New York City, you got a black mayor in Chicago, you got a black mayor in Los Angeles, and you have murder rates there that are beyond Afghanistan war zone numbers. And the news media doesn't even comment on it. And again, more black Americans will be murdered this year, just this year in the United States, than black Americans died in the entire Vietnam War. And nobody talks about it. Nobody says it out loud. It's just amazing. So now that it turns out that the latest report, the guy that threw the sandwich at the federal agent was a Department of Justice employee. And a Democrat. Man, oh man, I am telling you, the Democrat Party. We got Maxine Waters talking about civil war in the United States because the Democrats, the deep state runs deep, doesn't it? Boy, oh boy, I'm telling you. That's great. Man charged with felony for allegedly, I like how the news media, this is CNN, allegedly throwing sandwich at federal law enforcement officer in D.C. Here's the videotape. Is it still alleged? Isn't that amazing? I think Fox News is now reporting that the guy is a Department of Justice employee because Democrats. Boy. Our Democrat Party. What are we going to do with them? All right, let's go, because they've racialized everything, as they always do. But they don't care about black lives or any other human lives because they're the left. And 1 million abortions a year in the United States is called choice. Helpless, innocent children, they harvest their organs. They literally do every chance they get. And 40% of the black population in city after city after city being aborted in the womb. And then the next most likely cause of death is murder. Certainly for people under the age of 70. And here's the mayor of Baltimore. He's a Democrat. He's a black guy. His name is Brandon Scott.
I think it's very notable that each and every one of the cities called out by the president has a black mayor. And most of those cities are seeing historic lows in violent crime.
Historic lows in violent crime. By what standard? by the standard of Afghanistan at war, because even that doesn't wash. You people. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Amazing. Again, in Washington, D.C. in 2017, 116 murders, 15 Americans killed in Afghanistan during the war. In 2018, 160 people murdered in Washington, D.C., 16 Americans killed in the war in Afghanistan. 2019, 23 Americans killed in the war in Afghanistan. Tragically, 164 murders in Washington, D.C. You've seen the pictures of the people murdered. In 2020, 11 Americans killed in the war in Afghanistan, 195 murders in Washington, D.C. In 2021, Joe Biden got 13 Americans killed in Afghanistan, 224 murders in Washington, D.C. Not in America, in Washington, D.C. Much more deadly than a war zone called Afghanistan. Yeah. And, you notice their cities are black. Maybe leaders in black cities should look at the homicide rates in their cities if Black Lives mattered. The mayor of Chicago, Illinois, is Let's Go Brandon Johnson. He's also a black man.
The president has always been intimidated by the intellectual prowess of black men. And so, of course, he would speak in those petite and puerile terms.
Petite and puerile. Apparently he's got a word of the day calendar on his desk or something. Hey, how many murders in Chicago last year, Brandon Johnson? How does that compare to a war zone called Afghanistan? What are you doing to fight crime in Chicago, Illinois? The mayor of Kansas City is a black man. His name is Quentin Lucas. And, it's not Chicago or Los Angeles, but they also have murder.
Do you think there's race driving this?
I won't say that's like the totality of it, but I absolutely think it is. Yes, there are homicides in my city. Yes,
I
there
won't
is
say,
crime,
but I'll say.
But we don't think the same prescription of help is necessary.
Law enforcement? You don't think law enforcement is necessary? Isn't that amazing? In Oakland, they have a radical leftist mayor, Barbara Lee, and she is a WOC, a woman of color.
Let me just say also, it's not lost on anyone that the cities that he is calling out, first of all, have large numbers of black and brown people.
And murdered
Secondly,
people.
The crime rate is going down in all of these cities. Thirdly, they're all headed by black mayors. Now, what does that say? What does that picture paint? So we all know who he is.
You're a murderer. You might as well be. You're a pro-murder. What do you? And none of the reporters say, well, here are the crime stats, and they say going down because there was a spike in all the Democrat-run, black-run cities in the United States in 2023, and then in 2024 there was a dip, and they explain it. They say COVID. It's the COVID. It's got nothing to do with COVID. People were on lockdown, and then suddenly we let them outside in 2023, so naturally they murdered a bunch of people. And that's their actual rationalization, that their actual explanation for crime going up, spiking, was COVID was ending. And they locked everybody down because they're fascists and mandated that everybody get vaccines that hadn't been tested. And then everybody got outside. And naturally, what do? They start shooting people. That's what Democrat leaders, and these are all black leaders, who are saying. The news media goes to black leaders, whoever talks to the mayor of Oakland and asks about anything but the Democrat Party. Aren't they amazing? I'm telling you. And what do the Democrats want to do? There's a Democrat from Illinois, House of Representatives in Washington, D.C., Delia Ramirez. And we played her a short time ago, too, talking about how she's extra proud to be a Guatemalan and not an American. She was in Guatemala at the time. Oh, no, she was in Mexico, I think, at the time. She was in Mexico at a conference. You're shaking your head at me. Oh, number 17? Oh, I'm sorry. With that, yeah, okay. She's the one who said that she's a proud Guatemalan And then she was at a Democrat conference yesterday or the day before.
We stood up rapid response efforts to defend our communities against Trump. It's why Tom Homan hates me so much. He hopes that we don't know our rights so they can violate them. Well, Tom Homan, let me tell you, all over the country, we will continue to stand up for our rights, and we will continue to call out the terrorist organization that is ICE.
That's right. ICE is a terrorist organization, not MS-13, not Tren de Aragua. This is the mainstream of the Democrat Party. The end is near. These are the final days of Rome because the Democrat Party is here. They're at the gates of Vienna, and the gates of Vienna are in Washington, D.C. You know, the Ottoman invasion of the West, and the Holy Roman Empire had to stand up against them. In Los Angeles, they have a Democrat mayor who's a WOC, and her name is Karen Bass. She used to be a member of the House of Representatives for the Democrat Party.
When they were doing the random snatching or kidnappings of people off of our streets, when people gathered, they backed away on many occasions. And so in Los Angeles, we have a rapid response network where everybody is alerted. If you see masked men getting out of unmarked cars, let everybody in the area know.
Yeah, that's the kidnappings and snatchings, because if you're, illegal immigration is illegal. Let's start with that. And if you're committing crimes, you're a gang member. Karen Bass wants to defend the criminal gang members and to attack the police as a terrorist organization, no less. Isn't that amazing? And Zohran Mamdani, the runaway winner coming up of the New York City mayoral race. He's up by 19 points in the polls, which hasn't been seen in decades. And that's not just with Democrats. That's in New York City. Zohran Mamdani, who's a terrorist, a terrorist lover, and communist, an actual communist. What's he going to do for New York City when he becomes mayor?
On this tour across New York City, each and every borough, as we stand against the Trump administration's attacks on the very fabric of the place we call home, we also lay out what our vision will look like. It is not enough to fight against authoritarianism. What are you also fighting for? We are fighting to keep this city a sanctuary city.
Because illegality needs to be made legal. Illegal immigration is gang members, more people being set on fire on New York City subway trains. That was an illegal alien, wasn't it? And the rest. All right, let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Kurt, calling from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. Kurt, you're on the Chris Plante Show. Kurt is on the Chris Plante Show, but he put his phone down and he's off doing something else. Let's go to Russell, because we have Kurt and Russell stacked on top one.
I'm here.
Hey, Russell, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
That's Kurt.
Hey. Oh, it's Kurt? I'm sorry. What happened here?
You got us both? Christopher?
Kurt?
No, this is Russell.
Okay. All right, you're messing with me. All right, there's Russell calling from Prince George's County.
It is me. PG County. I work nights. Last night was my night off, so I decided to drive around. I went up to two different cities. I went to Foxhall, different city. I went to Shipley Terrace, different city. I went to Alabama Avenue. Different city. You get me?
I do. Yeah, there is no crime in Foxhall where the houses can be $20 million. And if you... go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Yeah. I went to Union Station last, and that's where they got the big tents with the protest people. I don't know. But Amtrak cops are sitting right there. I don't know what they're doing.
Well... I got to tell you, and, there is, we're getting calls from people saying, yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, certain parts of the city don't need checkpoints and law enforcement, and other parts of the city need a lot of law enforcement because it's where all the murders and the shootings and the attacks and the muggings are taking place. It's not a giant city, but they're Foxhall, very wealthy. Anacostia, not very wealthy. Union Station, in the shadow of the U.S. Capitol. And it's kind of an on-again, off-again location, Union Station. And we had somebody call in a bit ago, said they were driving around Washington, D.C., and noticed I wanted to go to him, too, saying that there's a noticeable decline, a noticeable decrease in the number of homeless people, often in tents, not always, sometimes just standing in traffic or at Union Station, a lot of homeless people there. And people saying, and I've heard this from a couple other people that live in Northeast D.C. and so on, that the number of homeless people has noticeably declined just in the last few days because the government came in, imagine that, and the park police and cleaned up 70 homeless camps, not individual, offering them treatment for their addictions or their mental illnesses and shelter, which would get them off the street and make the city a much more civilized place. Go to Paris, go to London, go to Munich or Berlin. You don't see this in those cities because they don't allow this stupidity. The problem we have here is not just homelessness and mental illness, it's Democrats. Now, the idiot Joe Scarborough on MSDNC off on a rant this morning saying the Washington Post poll says 91% of Washington residents say crime is a problem. More than 50% say it's a major problem. Black residents and lower income people more worried than the general population, more worried than white people. And Chuck Schumer, the Lizard King, was asked about the crime. Hey, President Trump may want to extend the law enforcement effort here. You going to help with that?
He can't revoke complete home rule authority for D.C. without actually going to Congress first. He can't even extend this past 30 days without going to you all first. Have you heard that that's what he plans on doing? And if he went to Congress and said, you know what, there's this crime emergency, we need the National Guard out there longer, we need to take over Washington, D.C., would you grant it?
No way.
He's cursing there with the F word. He's the Democrat leader in the United States Senate. He's the Lizard King. He's filth. Harry Enton is the polling guy at CNN. He's got his finger on the pulse.
I think this sort of gives the game away here because Donald Trump is like Air Jordan towering over Joe Biden when it comes to their handling of crime. Look, in 2024, look at where Biden's net approval was on crime. Way underwater there at minus 26 points. It was one of Biden's worst issues. Granted, pretty much every issue was one of Biden's worst issues.
President Trump +1. It's a 27-point swing on crime in America. The Democrats are on the wrong side of gender, war and peace, borders, crime, homelessness. They're wrong about everything.